Welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit for today's practice session. The time is just before 10 in the morning and we should soon be seeing the first cars leaving the garages. This is a popular location for many of the teams. The circuit is extremely demanding for both the drivers and the cars, and that makes it a very exciting place to race.
It's certainly a track that's liked by the drivers, providing a good set of challenges when racing. It has two long straights that allow for great overtaking opportunities and a very complex 360-degree right-hand corner combination just after the start-finish line. It's a circuit that really has a bit of everything.
Max Verstappen was a record breaker at the Australian Grand Prix by becoming the youngest ever F1 driver to take to the grid. He beat Jaime Alguersuari's previous record of 19 years and 125 days.
It shows the great potential that they believe Max has to promote him so early. I'm sure he'll be eager to repay their faith out on the track.
Hello guys and welcome back to my F1 2015 career mode. We are here in China for what is the third round of this 2015 season. If you haven't already watched my last race over in Malaysia, I suggest you go do so now because it was an absolute cracker and a whole lot of overtaking took place there. Okay, that should have been enough time. So, last time out in Malaysia, we had a good start to the race. Got up into P1 for a bit, battling up the top. Then we had an accident, put us down into like 5th place. Still battling with the drivers up there though. And then we had another incident which puts us way down into sort of like 12th position. We managed to battle back and I think we came home in 7th. But, you know, it's not where we should be. We should be challenging for wins and podiums. So, be looking to get that in over here in China for today's race. Nothing happened in practice as per usual, so we're going to head over straight to the qualifying session.
In a sign of things to come this weekend, the Mercedes drivers have topped the timesheets in today's practice session. It's Saturday afternoon here in Shanghai as the cars are preparing to go out on track to begin qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix. One of the big changes on this year's grid is Fernando Alonso, who's left Ferrari and is now back with McLaren.
Many people would never have thought Fernando would go back to McLaren after the volatile year he spent there in 2007. But back he is, and he'll be wanting to make the most of their renewed partnership with Honda.
Here we go then, qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix, and as you can see, just like the previous two rounds, we've got into Q3 quite easily, so let's have a look at the laps that we put in for this qualifying session. So here we go, coming round the final corner to put in our first lap of this qualifying session. What sort of time is it going to be? It's 1:39.3, so that's still a good lap. We're just going to have to wait and see for all the other drivers to come across the line to see where that puts us in this qualifying session as we're coming around turn 1. So here we go, coming around the final corner. We are in P3 at the moment. What sort of lap time is this going to be? It's a very slow lap at the moment, so we must be, yes. So we're setting ourselves up for the final lap of this qualifying session. 6 seconds left on the clock, so this is going to be the final lap, and I believe we are the last driver to come across the lines. We're going round the first corner, and it's very nice and tidy through there, taking it wide, but then cutting back in for the apex, as we're now going round turn 2. Very nice sort of snail shell section there in this Chinese Grand Prix. And so now running down to complete Sector 1 and then get into this hairpin. What sort of times are we doing in Sector 1? We're up on Lewis Hamilton's time at the moment. We're setting the fastest sector time, and we've lost the back end on the curve. We've gone onto the grass, and that is our qualifying session over as we go into the barrier, lose our front wing, and that is a disaster for us but we're still in P3 to be honest, so it's still a good result in qualifying, and we can definitely be happy with this result.
It's been a mighty qualifying performance from Mercedes today, with both cars on the front row for the race tomorrow.
They'll be very pleased with that result and will be confident going into the race that one of their drivers will be able to go on and claim the win.
There we have it then. Lewis Hamilton tops the timesheets in this Q3 session. He will start the race tomorrow in first place, with Nico Rosberg, his teammate, lining up next to him. We're in third, so a good result from us there. Bit disappointing that we didn't get higher because we did set the fastest first sector, but unfortunately crashing on that lap stopped us from setting a valid lap time. Kimi Raikkonen is next to us in 4th, with Sebastian Vettel in 5th. Our teammate Daniil Ricciardo is next to him in 6th, with Pastor Maldonado in 7th. Sergio Perez 8th. Max Verstappen is in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Romain Grosjean in 10th. So, without any further ado, let's head over to the race.
It's now time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. It's time for the Chinese Grand Prix here in Shanghai. Here's today's pole sitter, Lewis Hamilton. When I was speaking to him early on, I got the sense that he has total confidence in himself and his Mercedes car to take that race victory today.
He'll want to stay out of trouble over the first few laps, but he'll be determined not to let any cars past him. If he can maintain that position once everything's settled down, he'll have a massive advantage and be able to control the race.
After a stellar performance in qualifying yesterday, Daniil Kvyat must be dreaming of his first ever podium here today.
The young Russian has shown some great maturity already in his time in Formula One. He has the genuine speed to put that car on the podium today if he gets a bit of luck and keeps out of trouble.
It's race day. We are here for the Chinese Grand Prix, starting from P3 on the grid. Let's have a look at the race strategy. It's a wet race today, so it's going to be intermediates all the way for the two-stop strategy up until lap 56, unless the weather changes, and then we can go on to the dries or maybe even onto the full wet. So here we go. Chinese Grand Prix, 5 lights. And away we go. It's in a poor start yet again, getting the revs up and losing the back end. Just keep managing to keep it on the track, but we have lost so many positions down into turn 1. We've gone from 3rd all the way down into 7th now, but going around the outside of Sergio Perez and Sebastian Vettel, and maybe even our teammate Daniel Ricciardo here. No, Daniel Ricciardo just manages to maintain position as we go up the inside of turn 2, and we are up into P4. But Daniel Ricciardo looks like he's coming back at us. That arrow, there he goes. So Daniel Ricciardo back up into P4. We're down into P5. Now behind us is Sebastian Vettel, unless we can make a move up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo here. Looks like we go for it. Up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, but he has the better drive out of the corner with the wet track. We're just struggling at the moment to get the car going. Acceleration is really poor at the moment, but now Sebastian Vettel is right behind us going through this first left-hander. Looks like we're catching up to Daniel Ricciardo quite a bit here. Now through this next right-hander, we brake just a little bit too late, and that allows us, Daniel Ricciardo, to get away from us. Maybe we could have had a look at a move as we go a bit wide now into this left-hander. That will allow Sebastian Vettel to be right on our tail yet again. Maybe he can make a move into this next left-hander. He is right on our tail now. He's having a look up the inside, but he just thinks better of it. He backs out of it. Maybe have a look down the long DRS straight. Obviously, DRS not activated yet because it is a wet race and it is before lap 3. Sebastian Vettel looking like he's getting a better exit out of this corner. He's right behind us. Now with the slipstream, he will be able to gain on us. Here he goes. The arrow is getting bigger, and you can see him in the mirrors going past on our right, and that's an easy move for Sebastian Vettel. Sergio Perez is the next car behind us, but he is way too far behind to even challenge. So maybe we can have a look up the outside of Sebastian Vettel. Not here, but we're going to try the cutback move on him. If we can get a good drive out of the corner. No, we don't. Just really struggling to get the traction down as we nearly go onto the grass there. And that's us still in P6. So still looking to get past Sebastian Vettel, but that mistake there will mean that he will get away from us. And now Sergio Perez is definitely catching up to us. He's going to have the slipstream in towards turn 1. Will he have a look, or will he just not get there close enough in time? He is right behind us, but he wasn't close enough to even challenge for a move, so he just backs out of it. Now going into towards turn 1. We are right behind Sebastian Vettel for P5. He's challenging for P4 with our teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Hopefully, if the weather improves, we'll start to put in some decent lap times and catch up. As we lose the back end, and that's a disaster for us, that means we're going to lose Sebastian Vettel. As we now cut ahead to lap 11, we finally caught up to the back of our teammate, who has been overtaken by Sebastian Vettel. Unfortunately, we don't see where that happens, but Sebastian Vettel has overtaken Daniel Ricciardo. It's now lap 11. We are right on his tail as we're going in towards this left-right hand corner combination, just like we had in Malaysia. We made some good moves there last time out. Maybe we can make a few good moves here as we are right behind Daniel Ricciardo now going in towards this left-hander. No, we just think better of it for the time being. We're just going to tuck in behind him, maybe try and get the slipstream down the long DRS straight where Sebastian Vettel overtook us on the first lap of this race. Still behind Daniel Ricciardo, now going into this left-hander, looking up just a little bit, but not enough to put us wide and off the track as we're still right behind Daniel Ricciardo. We get a wheel onto the curb. That's going to lose us our drive out of that corner, and we lose the back end ever so slightly there. That's going to run us very wide in this corner, and we have lost Daniel Ricciardo as we cut ahead to lap 13. We managed to catch back up to him. We're right on his tail going through turn 1. We're catching him up so much through that corner. We're very good. I think we got quite a good downforce through this section of corners. Catching right up to the back of Daniel Ricciardo now. Hopefully not lose the back end, which we do ever so slightly. Losing us our traction. That will allow Daniel Ricciardo just to get a little bit further away yet again. Now under braking in towards this hairpin. This is where we lost it in qualifying. Hopefully not make the same mistake as we're running on the curb. And we do make the same mistake, but not quite going onto the grass, but still losing a bunch of time to Daniel Ricciardo, who's definitely going to drive away. So again, we've got to try and catch him up in the next couple of corners. as a race engineer is telling us that it's not time for the slick tyres just yet, but it's definitely getting there. So the weather is definitely improving to a point where it could be slick tyres in the next couple of laps, as we are catching back up to Daniel Ricciardo. And now we're on board with Lewis Hamilton, I believe it is. Yes, it is. You can see from the white gloves, and he has got a puncher. I'm not sure how that happened. We saw that quite a lot in last season, in the 2014 season, where a lot of people would just get random punches for no reason, and he is holding up Kimi Räikkönen, I believe that is. But for some strange reason, Lewis Hamilton has now got a puncher. Doesn't look like anything happened. Maybe his tyres just went off a bit too much, but I'm not sure that really is what happened, because it's about lap 18 that we're supposed to be pitting, as Lewis Hamilton will come in for a very early pit stop. And if it starts to dry up in the next couple of corners, that means Lewis Hamilton is going to lose a bunch of time. But good news for us, because we are going to get past Lewis Hamilton, so it's an easy move for us, as we're going to get past him while he's in the pit lane right now. But we do need to catch up to Daniel Ricciardo and get past him as soon as possible, so we can start to challenge and catch up to the Ferraris and Nico Rosberg. Going through into turn 1. This is where we gained quite a lot of time last time, and it looks like we are doing so again. Just looking on the mini-map, I'm not sure. I believe Lewis Hamilton is going to come out in front of the pack that is behind us. It's going to be very close, but DRS has been enabled for us, so that is good news. If we can get close to him on the straight, we can go for that overtake, and it'll make it so much easier for us, as we're going to be quite a bit still behind Daniel Ricciardo. Now going into this hairpin where we lost it on the previous lap. Hopefully not making the same mistake here as we get on the curb yet again, and we made the exact same mistake. We've done it in qualifying, we've done it here in the race, and now it's going to take us a while to get back onto the track, and we've lost even more time to Daniel Ricciardo, and that is allowing Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton and the likes of those behind us to catch up, as it's now lap 17. We've caught up to the back of Daniel Ricciardo again, not close enough to make a move anytime soon, but it looks like the track is definitely drier now. Maybe not time for intermediate tyres. This is the same sort of pit window that we were supposed to have for the inters, as Daniel Ricciardo comes in to the pits now. Not sure whether he's going back onto new set of inters or onto the option tyres. That's what happened, if you remember, back in Belgium, where we managed to win a Grand Prix, where it went onto, they went onto the dry tyres, and then the next lap had to pit onto the inters, where we waited. Let's have a look at what sort of tyres Kimi Räikkönen is on. He is on the yellow wall tyres, so they are all pitting for the option tyres. So that means we should have to pit on the next lap to try and get onto the option tyres and catch up and try and get the overcut on Daniel Ricciardo. We're just going to have to wait and see, as we're coming in for our pit stop now for the option tyres. Believe now that we don't actually have to pit for both sets of tyres, we can go option, option, option all the way to the end of this race. Don't have to worry about running those prime tyres, as Daniel Ricciardo is coming along the pit lane now, but we are going to come out miles ahead of him, and that is us up into P4. So the overcut on Daniel Ricciardo worked a treat. Maybe the intermediate tyres were working a lot better on that previous lap than the option tyres, but now we're going to have to push like hell to catch up to Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen and Nico Rosberg and try and challenge for the win of this race. I definitely think we can do so, as we were doing very good laps in qualifying, so if we can replicate those, we can definitely be on the back of them as we are coming across the line. Let's have a look at the gap to Sebastian Vettel. It's 11 seconds, but we have set the fastest lap of the race, and our engineer said that we are definitely catching him up. And Ricciardo is losing a second a lap to us, as we're on board with Nico Rosberg coming out of the hairpin, and he's got a random puncher as well. Exactly the same thing that happened, the same tyre that Lewis Hamilton had, so maybe it's just a problem for the Mercedes team, as we now got Kimi Räikkönen right behind Nico Rosberg, and Nico Rosberg moves out in front of him, and now Kimi Räikkönen has spun Nico Rosberg. All Nico Rosberg's fault there, as he did move in front of him. Now we're going to be coming through. We set the fastest first sector of the race. Yellow flags are out. This is for Nico Rosberg, who is stranded on this next corner. That's going to put us up into P3, a podium position, and that is great news for us, because Nico Rosberg is going to take ages driving at 60 miles an hour to get back into the pit, so he is definitely going to be at the back of the grid for the time being. As we do run wide on that left-hander. Now coming into the second left-hander. And a very nice drive through there, as we're on board with Lewis Hamilton. He's coming through the same set of corners that we've just done. He's got Nico Rosberg ahead of him. Nico Rosberg again moves out in front of him, and he's put his own teammate into the wall. That is a disaster for the Mercedes team. The two drivers which were up at the front of the championship have now collided. One's got a puncher, one's lost a front wing. They're both going to have to come in for this next lap, as we're watching on board with Kimi Räikkönen. Again, Nico Rosberg moves out in front of him. And now Sebastian Vettel, and Nico Rosberg moves out in front of Sebastian Vettel. He's lost his front wing. He's going to have to come into the pits, and that's even better news for us, as we're going to get past Sebastian Vettel for what will be second place in this Grand Prix, as we've got a Mana Marussia ahead of us. And then that's Nico Rosberg looking stranded. We're going to move over to the left. A lot slower through there because we didn't want to cause a collision. We've seen that Nico Rosberg likes to turn out in front of people, so we didn't want to cause a collision there. But here we go up into P2 and hunting down Kimi Räikkönen, who is 15 seconds ahead of us now. Coming round turn 1, we've moved into P2 as our engineer is just confirming. That is great news for us after going down into P7. Here we go for our second pit stop of this race, going back onto the option tyres, I believe. Yes, we are. Here we go. So back onto the option tyres. It's a 2.5 pit stop, a great pit stop there. As Kimi Räikkönen has now got back past us, and the gap was 9 seconds that we had on him in the lead as he crossed the line. But it's going to be probably about 10 seconds yet again. As Sebastian Vettel has got past us. So Sebastian Vettel, who made an earlier pit stop than us, he's got past us. So we're going to have to try and get past him as soon as possible as we come through turn 1. And then through turn 2. The Ferraris, I definitely think, are faster than us in race pace, as we are right behind this bunch of lapped cars. As Sebastian Vettel's got past Fernando Alonso, but we are now right on the tail of him. We've got Nico Hülkenberg and Pastor Maldonado ahead of us. They will be blue flags, so it will be a very easy move to get past these. As we've now got Fernando Alonso right on our tail, and it looks like he's actually going to go for a move to try and unlap himself on us. As we both get DRS, but with the slipstream for the McLaren, somehow he's getting past us, but his ERS should be starting to fail now. And we will get straight back past him up the inside on this hairpin. But Maldonado and Hülkenberg definitely getting caught up, trying to let through Sebastian Vettel. That's held us up quite a bit, and that allows Sebastian Vettel to get in front of him and get away from us. We need to get past both these drivers as soon as possible to try and catch up to Sebastian Vettel. We're going to get DRS on him. Both of these drivers fighting, so they might not let us pass. No, there we go. Hülkenberg lets us pass. Now Maldonado's turn to try and let us pass. Will Hülkenberg get back through? We just have to wait and see, as we're going to go round the outside into turn 1 on Pastor Maldonado, using all the track that is available to us. And now we're going to cut back to the apex, and that's us past the lap drivers to try and hunt down Sebastian Vettel for what is second place in this Grand Prix. Now we can put it up into rich mix while we had it in lean behind those lap drivers. We can put it back up into rich mix to try and hunt down Sebastian Vettel as we're coming through this hairpin. And now we cut ahead to lap 34. Sebastian Vettel still ahead of us, and he has come into the pit. So we will go up into P2 for the time being. We need to wait and see what sort of strategy Sebastian Vettel will be running, as we are now 11 seconds behind Kimi Räikkönen. He is pitting now on lap 43. It's lap 44 for us. We're coming in for our scheduled pit stop. We're in the lead at the moment, but Kimi Räikkönen, who pitted the lap before, will be coming past us any second now. It's a 2.4 pit stop as Kimi Räikkönen comes across the line now, and he is back up into the lead of this Grand Prix. We're just going to have to wait and see what the gap is to Kimi Räikkönen when we next come past the start-finish straight. Coming out of the pit lane on cold tyres, but we need to start to push as much as possible to try and catch up to Kimi Räikkönen to try and challenge for the lead of this Grand Prix. As up next on track, I believe, is Amanda Marussia once again, who we will be trying to lap and get past. You just saw the back end kick out there. That's thanks to the cold tyres. We're now on lap 53, and the clouds are starting to come back to us, and maybe it's going to rain in the last couple of laps of this race. We're just going to have to wait and see as we're coming round this right-hander now. Kimi Räikkönen is still ahead of us, but he is miles ahead of us. I believe he's probably about 16 seconds ahead of us right now. I didn't manage to see what the gap was there as we came across the sector, so sorry about that. But we're having a look at the weather forecast. So light rain within 10 minutes time, and I don't believe that will come quick enough for it to affect either me or Kimi in the last couple of laps. There's 18 runners still left in this race. We'll just have to wait and see to the end of the race who has DNF. As it's lap 55 now, as we're coming down the start-finish straight, and as you can see on the car, there it is. The rain is starting to fall, but it's not heavy enough. It could be on the last lap, and it could start to be a bit tricky, but we're not too sure. We're just going to have to wait and see as we go into the hairpin now. Last lap of this Grand Prix. Where can we come? Can we beat Kimi Räikkönen? He is miles ahead of us, though, so I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not sure what the gap is to Sebastian Vettel either, but I think he is also miles behind us. I think it's like a 40-second gap back to Sebastian Vettel. He is 16 seconds ahead of us, Kimi Räikkönen. The rain is starting to fall, but it's not enough as Kimi Räikkönen comes across the line for his win in this Chinese Grand Prix. A great result for him. A bit lucky with the DNFs from Lewis Hamilton and the crash from Nico Rosberg. But we are going to come home for what is P2 in this Chinese Grand Prix. A great result from us after the last couple of races where it's been a bit of a disaster. But P2 back on the podium for Daniil Kvyat.
And that concludes today's racing. It's Kimi Räikkönen who gains 25 points and who now leads the World Drivers' Championship.
It sure is a great achievement for Kimi, but he'll be more interested in how to stay on top of the pack come the end of the season.
It was great having you with us for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Until next time though, goodbye.
So there we go. Kimi Räikkönen wins this Chinese Grand Prix. We finish in second. Maybe we could have challenged for the victory if we didn't lose at the start. But P2 is still a great result. Our fourth podium of this season. Of this career, sorry. Sebastian Vettel is in third with Daniil Ricciardo in fourth. Valtteri Bottas fifth. Felipe Massa sixth. Raymond Grosjean in seventh. Carlos Sainz in eighth. Felipe Nasr with a great result in ninth. Sorry, Carlos Sainz was in eighth. Nico Rosberg with that puncher managed to still come home in 10th. So that's a good result from him. Let's have a look at who DNF'd. So it was Lewis Hamilton who DNF'd and Jenson Button. Let's have a look at how these results affect the drivers' standings. So in the drivers' standings, Kimi Räikkönen now leads the drivers' championship, and we are up into 7th now with that podium position. We're on exactly the same points as Felipe Massa and 1 point behind Lewis Hamilton, who hasn't finished a race since his win in Australia, and 4 points behind Valtteri Bottas. That's who we're aiming for in the next race. Let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship. There we go. In the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari now moved top with Mercedes down into seconds. We've moved up into third, jumping Williams Racing. So that's a good result from us. Thank you very much for watching this Chinese Grand Prix. And don't forget to join me next time when we are in Bahrain. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.